welcome to the Danny Grieves Show. This is Scott Kerker, along with Metamore head coach Danny Grieves. Coach, a little bit different to the start of the season this year. You started off, and we talked about this the last show. You went over to the Washington Tournament of Champions and just played some tremendous talent over there.
Well, I think the first 3 games that we played was probably the 3 best teams we'll be able to see all year long.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you started off with Lanphier, hung with them.
They were decent.
Yeah, it's a little bit of talent there on the floor with them.
Very physical.
Very, very physical, very athletic. You guys led for like 3.5 quarters.
Right.
At the end, they just kind of got a few breaks, and they were able to squeak out a 5-point victory over you. But I thought, by and large, that was you guys played awfully well.
We had tremendous fight in that dog. I tell you what, it was fun to watch them play. We tried to grit through some things, and they got us at the end. But you know, to me, there's no moral victories. But I'll tell you what, we saw what we were made out of. We don't mind going toe to toe with somebody.
Yeah, that was a very good game. I thought that you know, that we had a few turnovers, but by and large, I thought that was a pretty solid game.
Sure was.
You came back the next day and played a very good team, John Bosco out of California,
right.
And I believe had another tough game that you had some chances, and they squeaked out, I believe, a 7-point win.
7 points. You know, I think every man, they were 5 inches taller than us, and so our kids showed a lot of grit in that game. But then when you don't block out and they're taller, you know, of course we had like 15 turnovers and they had 17 offensive rebounds. So when you give them that kind of advantage and you're still in it, you know, and we showed a lot of poise at times in that game. We just couldn't get over the hump right there at the end.
Then you played a very good Joliet West team.
Yes.
I believe that was a 12-point win for them.
Yes.
Again, another very good team that, you know, you don't get a chance to play that kind of talent back to back.
And we can't simulate it in this area,
no,
unless you go to manual, which we do. And yeah, so it was a lot of fun for us to kind of see where we're at.
And then you came back on Saturday and played another very good team in Kankakee, and played a very complete game.
Yeah,
and won by, I believe, 14 or 15 points.
Yeah, it was fun to watch our kids, you know, at the end in the second half do well. Play like they practice and put a good inning together.
Yeah, I thought that was a very good game, and you needed that game.
We did.
And you know, you came out of the tournament 1-3, but man, does that set you up awfully well for the rest of the.
But just a few possessions, one way or the other.
Yes.
You know, maybe I'll tell you what, our kids gave themselves a chance to be in it at the end, and against really good teams, that's all you ask for. So yeah. I was really proud of them.
Yeah, and you know, you played those last 2 games without one of your senior leaders, Zach Schroeder, injuries,
right.
And a little bit of illness, and you know, giving him some time off to get healed up probably did more for you to get him healthy,
right.
But create some more depth for you guys.
Well, you know, anytime you have an injury, whatever it might be, or somebody's missing, it's next man up in a good program, and so we had some kids that stepped up and did a really good job.
Yeah.
And we've got a few more that haven't had a chance that are still waiting their turn. So we've been very lucky to have kids buy in and go year round and, you know, do all the things that it takes to be really good.
Then you went last Tuesday over to Canton. Again, great place to go to.
Love that gym.
Takes a day and a half to get there.
Right.
But you went over there and played a pretty gamey Canton team. Played tough. You jumped on them early, and I don't want to say coasted, but you kind of had your way with them. I thought you played awfully well.
We did. You know, I didn't want to be the team to play us after that tournament. Our kids really dialed in for the last, you know, 3 days of practice before we went to play Canton. And Canton's, you know, I always said if there's one person that could get that program built back the way it was, would be Hunter Rhodes. And you know, that whole Rhodes family, there's so much tradition there, and he's done a fantastic job. As it turns out, last night, you know, they beat Morton for his first time beating Morton. So, you know, they have a really good guard, and the Otto kid, of course, his dad was a coach forever. Now he's an AD at Farmington. Mm-hmm. And so they got, you know, the big Rhodes kid, he's a load. He's about 6'4". He goes about 255, and that's Hunter's brother, as a matter of fact. And, you know, we couldn't stop him at times inside. Very smooth, good touch, great basketball IQ. And they've got a couple other guys that can really score it. So, you know, they're another team that if you're not ready for them on a given night, they can easily beat you.
And you talked about that before the season started, that
Yeah.
Canton would be one of the more improved teams, and it was proven right by their upset of Morton on Saturday night.
And East Peoria the same way. Dunlap, much more improved, went over to Pekin and won.
Yes.
Which is amazing.
And then the team you played Friday night, Limestone, went over, I believe Washington came to them and lost.
Yeah, Coach James and I were at that game, and they pretty much led from wire to wire.
Man.
But they're much improved, and of course they're really well coached. So it'll be a challenge for us on Friday night.
And you've now gone. You were supposed to play Saturday.
Yeah.
East Peoria had to postpone the game.
Right.
That game will be made up somewhere down the road.
December 1st.
December 1st.
Excuse me. February 1st.
Okay.
It's a Tuesday.
I was gonna say February, December 1st.
Yeah.
It's coming on.
Yeah, giving us the W.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that we played. You know, in football, they forfeited, and you got the win. I'd rather beat them, you know, fair and square.
Right. And that's you know, that's the good thing about basketball. You can reschedule those games, and so glad we were able to play that.
So we'll play that first game on that Friday night. It was supposed to be there, but it's going to be here. So the places are going to switch. All right. So we on the 28th of January, Friday night we'll play here. Then that Saturday we play at Manual as the host team plays in that big shootout. So that'll be fun. And then that next Tuesday we'll play over there with East Peoria. So, you know, I didn't necessarily like it last year when you played back-to-back games with each team. I like a little time in between, but you know, John does a good job. So it'll be a challenge both times we play him.
Yeah, and you know, they've already gotten one upset. You know, that's the good thing you like about your conference, is that there's nobody laying down.
There's 3 upsets on this weekend.
Yeah, and we were trying to figure out the last.
Glad we didn't play.
Yeah, and it was all the teams on the west side of the river that got W's last night.
Yeah.
Which was a little bit rare, but man, it's good to see that the conference is pretty. There's some game in those.
It's
teams.
wide open.
Yeah, and you know, but getting back to your team, I thought that this year, you know, Ethan Kaiser's come in with kind of a bullseye on his back.
Right.
And so he's garnered a lot of that attention from the other teams defensively.
No doubt.
And at times he's maybe pressured himself, maybe put a little more undue pressure than he should, maybe on himself a little bit.
He probably has done that also.
And but I think the game Tuesday night, I saw a little bit more relaxed Ethan Kaiser.
Right.
And he went out, and I thought he shot the ball much better.
He did, and he's had a good week of practice. Shot it well again when we scrimmaged on Saturday afternoon. The game was called off, so we just kept the refs and had an inter-squad scrimmage, and he really shot it well. So yeah, looking for big things with him, but you know, I think the whole team is wanting to play better, not just him. You know, and it was hard with Zach out of the game. You know, he's been our spiritual leader the last 2 years. He's the voice. He's the guy that talks. And now all of a sudden we haven't had really anybody step up and be as communicative as he is. And so we miss that. And I'm going, all right, when's he coming back? But he'll be back this weekend.
That'll be a huge lift.
Yes.
But I thought the guy that kind of stepped up when you needed somebody was Tyson Swanson. He was all tournament over at the Tournament of Champions. And we've played 5 games now.
Yeah. And
I thought in all 5 games, he's been kind of I don't want to say your best player, but he certainly has been your go-to guy.
Right. He has in the clutch with scoring. Now, and has done a tremendous job. But the other guy is Drew Tucker. I mean, think about, you know, the things that he does that doesn't show up on point stats, on handling the ball, get the ball up the court. I mean, think of the job he did against Lanphier. And then turn around the next night and go against St. John Bosco. And those guys were loaded at the guard spot.
Yes,
they were long. And, you know, I love his play.
And he's got a little bit of that, I always called it the John Wayne syndrome, where he's kind of the guy that wants the ball at the end.
Right.
He's the guy that, you know,
he's got a good swagger about him.
He does, and a little bit of a chip on his shoulder.
And I do believe that you know, he'll do the right thing with it. That's why I love him at the point.
Yeah, I do.
It was great when we could take Zach off the point,
right,
and give him the ball last year, and has done a great job ever since.
the thing that I love about your team too is at any time, any one of those 5 guys, or even some of the guys you bring off your bench,
right,
they can handle the ball.
Yeah, they can.
And that's a nice thing about it. If Ethan Kaiser, who's going to have some big guys on him, if you need to bring him out and make that big guy come out from under the basket,
right,
you've been able to do that.
Yeah, he's very capable of doing that.
And you know, we talked about some of these other guys you've had. You know, I thought that Jake Nealon came in and filled in for Zach Schroeder. He went a little bit bigger, a little bit more physical. Gave you a little bit of that physical presence inside.
He's kind of a guy like Turner Mann. When Turner Mann was here, there was certain games that, you know, he started and he was the biggest factor of the game. There's other games he couldn't get in. Big Jake, when we play a team like Landfair and they just run up and down so fast, we can't put Jake in. But I'll tell you what, the other night with the big boy that Canton had, he gives people problems.
He does.
And he was a big factor in that win against Morton. They didn't have an answer for him.
Right.
You know, Morton starts a freshman center, and this kid just ate him up. And so, you know, the defensive advantage we've had with a big coming in like Jake, what he gives us, now all of a sudden Ethan doesn't have to go down there and be the big. You know, and I think he's much more comfortable, you know, with not being that guy.
Right.
And so I think we changed the game a little bit for him too, when we brought in a big. So that was the thought process in that.
Yeah, and I thought that was big for you guys. He didn't score a lot of points for you, but he got some rebounds, played good defense.
Yeah.
There was one time in the game against, I believe it was Kankakee, where there was a loose ball, and there was 3 guys going at it. All of a sudden, Jake came out of nowhere, grabbed it, and got it to I believe, Drew Tucker, and got you another possession.
He does so many things well.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any mistakes hardly. Runs our stuff. He's a star in his role. He knocks down shots, gets rebounds. You know, you take a look at him when he sets a screen and the guard coming up. You know, the guy better be looking or he's going to be hurt.
Yes, for sure. But you know, when you look at the other guys that you've been playing a lot, you know, or Luke DeFrance.
Right.
For whatever reason, and I'm not sure what their shooting percentage is, but over the last few years, we've had trouble shooting in Washington.
Right. Always have.
And I don't know why that is.
So my thought process is get 4 more games over there so when we play Washington, we'll have a little bit more practice.
Yeah, it's true, and hopefully that'll work out for you this year. But you could tell that Luke felt better over in Canton.
When you think about it, we went 1 for 15 the last game over at the TOC, and the next game you go to Canton and hit 11.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I think it's more psychological than it is probably anything else.
It is what it is, but I tell you what, we have a good 3-point shooting team.
Oh, very good.
But I always did tell them, you can't live and die by the 3. You better have game plan A, B, C, and D. So, we were tested early on that because we haven't hit many 3s. And now we're coming back and we can. So I think our growth as far as, what we need to do in order to really score when we need a bucket, instead of just, hanging on, are we going to make a 3, has really helped us.
Coach, when you look at the rest of the conference now, teams are starting to get into their conference play a little bit now. Any surprises with some of these teams?
Well, I don't know much about the Dunlap coach, and I haven't seen their personnel. I don't even know who stayed and left. I heard the old coach's son is still playing, and so he's been a good little hand. And I'm sure there's some things that go along with him because obviously for them to go over to Pekin and win, it's a good win for them. And so who knows what to think now? You think about Pekin. Are they going to play the same defense? I heard yes, they did. They played the 2-3 matchup. What are they going to do differently offensively? I heard they've added quite a bit more. So Jeremy's going to obviously try to do more on the offensive side.
Jeremy Crouch.
They've got a big young inside too. He must go about 250, 255. So it's nice to be able to have a couple of big guys that we can bring in. Kaiser Quick has done a good job banging inside.
Yeah.
He really has. And so, we're just trying to do the best we can to get better and inch along. With guys that aren't playing well, shooting well, are not here because they got concussion, whatever it might be. So it's one of those things where you got to be ready because you don't know when your number's going to be called.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about the team you've got is that you've been able to bring these guys off the bench that at different times. And the one guy we haven't even mentioned yet is Tyler Mason, who's come in and done really well for him.
Yes, he has. What I love about him is he really ratcheted up his ability to defend. And And there for the longest time, you know, he could score, we knew that, but who can he stop? And now, you know, he's moving his feet, you know, and he does a great job of communicating for the most part. But he can keep a guy in front of him, and that's what we need.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought that and he gives you a little bit of size at that guard.
Yeah, he does.
I thought as the tournament of champions went on, and the more he got to play, the more comfortable he felt.
Yes.
And he made some big plays for you at different times in those games.
He did. He made some big shots, and defensively he had some good stops for us. So yeah, the thing is, he has got good size, and if he'll do a good job blocking out, he'll do a good job rebounding. And we need that because, you know, everybody is geared towards now going to Tyson, going to E, making sure they can't rebound. So, you know, that area is going to be wide open for somebody else to pick back up.
Big weekend coming up for you. You have Limestone at home on Friday night, and then Saturday, I believe you have Dunlap at home. And so you got 2 home games coming up this week, which is going to be really nice.
Should be fun.
And you know, it's always nice, and it's going to be so nice to have fans in the crowd. You had a freshman and a sophomore game this past weekend on Saturday. And
wasn't that a fun atmosphere?
And there was people there.
Yes.
And there was, you know, the one side. Yeah, one side was open, and the bleachers, I'd say, were 75% full.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
And you know, it's so nice to be playing with fans in the stands.
Yes.
And that was the nice thing about over at the Tournament of Champions. There were some awfully good
great crowds, good competition. You know, there's no reason to go anywhere else if we can get that.
Right. And I'm really looking forward to this coming weekend with those big, you know, hopefully some big crowds and some really good basketball. And you mentioned it before that, you know, Limestone, they upset Washington.
Sure did.
And they've got to transfer in a guard that they needed. Now they got him. And then you got the unknown with Dunlap and the new coach.
Right.
So should be a fun weekend.
It's going to be a blast.
Well, Coach, we'll let you get going here. I know you got practice tonight.
Open gym.
But I know you got to get going for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And it's been fun. It's going to get a lot more fun.
It is.
That'll do it for the Danny Grieves Show. We'll see you Friday night in Metamora.